Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. Hope everybody's doing well today. This fine morning. We're back as promised with a morning stream today. I'm quite happy about that. So today we're going to be taking another look at all of the units that we've added recently and really try to zero in on some of the things that we want to implement. Make sure that everything that has not yet been implemented with these new units is like up to date and makes sense and, you know, conceptually sound. And to do that, we need to build the latest plugin. I should, I guess, double check that there have been no updates to the plugin. Doesn't look like it. So HYDRA was able to fix some of the issues we had with Cascathalors and Alcagelisks not working correctly. So that was obviously much appreciated. So we go ahead and jump into Firegraph. We can actually add the latest plugin and see what we can accomplish there. All right, so obviously what we are going to want to do here is check out our Keskath Grotto and our Alcaj Chasm. And then we're going to want to T and E. And yeah, we'll figure out the morph animations. And obviously they'll play like stupid animations or whatever. Okay, so they are morphing correctly. Very nice. And we are going to need some sort of overlay for this guy, just based on that. I kind of like how slow this fucker is, though. That's pretty good. Yeah, this graphic has that weird trait of like random frames being off-center, unfortunately. It's sort of, you can sort of pass it off as like, oh, that's just locomotion, you know, they're just twitching, but from certain angles, it's definitely unnatural. All right, so now that we've got those units actually working in that sense, I guess we should slow down the Cascathalor just a little bit. Maybe increase its range. Oh, we're actually right here in the Cascathalor camp. You know, I could do a stream where I just try my best to make all of the art assets that we need for the morph animations and shit, like I did with the Gorgolith a while ago. In fact, I think it might still be an issue where Zerglings that morph to Nathrokors use the Hydralisk thing. Oh, now they don't work. Uh-oh. How did he fuck that up? I'll go take a look at the latest changes here. Oh, he removed the Zergling and Nathrokor case, I guess, in unit morph CPP. What was it exactly? If unit ID equals, and then if morph unit. What is this called again? Okay. So we should be able to fix that when we add this plugin here. Is it 96, I think? So increasing this by 32, we would hit 352. 384. All right, we'll give it that. See what that's like. Oops. That was kind of goofy of me. Okay, so now we can pop open Firegraft, and we can pop open the EXE, and we can hopefully morph Nathrokors and test my hypothesis. Yeah, for some reason Nathrokors, they use the right cancel animation, but they use the Hydralisk morph animation, whereas like it's literally just playing the frames in reverse. You know what I mean? Like just I don't know why they do that, because I don't even remember where that's implemented. But it's definitely goofy. The Nathrokor passive will definitely be a big deal. So I guess I should... find a thing for that. Say... What the fuck? Why? Why is it always stupid? I forget what it's called. Adrenal frenzy. So now we have the functionality for it, but in game hooks or weapon fire or something, we're going to have to actually... Well, I think in game hooks, we're going to have to decrement the timer. So I see like some stuff in here. Okay, so maybe it actually isn't like weapon damage or something. I'm not sure what decrements the timer. Maybe A's does, and I'm like forgetting about it because it has been a while. So the Gorgon stuff is commented? I guess I should test to see if it works. Oh. 60. Oh, right, because it's supposed to deal splash damage. Yeah, I forgot that their entire passive was reworked. So now I should do like... And then I guess I can... That's pretty cool, I think. I wonder if maybe it should also refresh the timer of the slow, whatever it is. Like that could be an interesting mechanic. But that would probably be a pain in the ass to actually implement. Oh, wait. Oh, wow, that was dumb of me. Hey, man. Glad Restream chat just committed Sudoku. Image table overflow. This happened in HYDRA a while ago with the... it was something related to exemplars because I was doing something stupid with their engine iScript where I would have it go to the walking. So I'll show you exactly what it was. So in exemplar walking, I would have something like go to, instead of go to exemplar local 00, it would be go to exemplar walking, which would imgall the engines over and over again. So I would just double check that all of your units that have engine graphics are going to a local loop instead of a loop like that. I really don't think that it's reasonable for me to stroll through every single one of your engine graphics in iScript. Just surely it's probably something that's been added recently. Yeah. That's the thing is like you'll probably, if you've already narrowed it down to just one faction's worth of units, there's probably a small number of those that actually have engine graphics, and you can probably take a look at it from there. All right, let's see if Nathrokor's passive is implemented. Of course, I should also grab a read for that, but... So it's working in a way, but it's also permanent, so I'm not sure what's up with that. I thought that the timers would be... Well, I can't check just your extended units. I have to check every single iScript because it's one text file. Again, I would specifically look at all of the engine graphics. I'm forgetting where the I don't know why I'm opening Audition. That was a misclick. I'm forgetting where where these timers are subtracted from. I guess I can add a debug message or something to the Nathrokor proc here, and we can say that. Yeah, the stacked cliffs are in there too. I haven't made anything for the non-platform tiles, but it wouldn't be that difficult. It's just that they'll look ugly as fuck as expected. So it's proccing for both units, I guess. So I guess I should also do some basic null check here. Or maybe the null check is done elsewhere? It doesn't really make sense to me to think that, like, I would need to do a null check in that sense. Because it's finding units, so the unit finder probably automatically does some sort of null check. But maybe I should do something like... The Ecclesiast proc doesn't have any parent unit. I used it as a reference. Anyway, the thing that's happening is that it's happening every single time, or like the timer is not decrementing basically, like it's not going down. And I thought that that was something that would be handled on Aza's side. I vaguely recall setting stuff up in game hooks to remove that. Like it would be stuff like this where it would say like if the timer is equal to 1, then set the stack to 0. But there's no stack. It's just checking if there's a timer or not. So it's basically implemented the same way that the Gorgon is implemented, or was implemented when you set up the Gorgon's, like when it kills a unit, it gets bonus movement speed and stuff. I only see one last orders proc, so I assume this is the one, even though it has 2 next to it. But I don't see how this is helpful. The only thing that I need to do is fix the fact that the timer isn't being decremented properly. I don't even know what a parent check looks like, but I haven't seen anything that appears to be a parent check in any of these procs. So it may just be that I don't know what I'm looking for, but I don't see how that would help anyway. Like I said, right now the effect is being applied, but the timer needs to go down. But why would I want the Nathrokor to benefit from it though? So why would I want it to ignore the Nathrokor? It's supposed to be all organics. So really what I should definitely do I forget what the simulacrum proc was like. I would have thought that the simulacrum proc would have been in here, but I guess it's probably in like weapon fire or something. I wonder if I can copy this for the Madrigal. No, it's affecting the marine that's below it, I'm pretty sure. Like if I run something like spawn, I don't know, probe, right? Okay, it is firing twice anyway, but that's because I'm not checking for whether or not, like, the unit has to have the organic flag, and that doesn't happen right now. So I'm pretty sure it's affecting the unit that I'm killing. Like, if I spawned a hostile probe or something and attacked that, it probably wouldn't. That's something that we can test right now. Hello? That was wild. Apparently it wasn't doing any damage when it spawned in. Yeah. Only happens once. So, it's fine. It's just that the timer doesn't go down. So do you know why the timer would fail to go down? I mean, it's only getting 48 plus 1. So I'm not really sure why it would be like that. I guess I don't even need the plus 1 here, because... Well, maybe I do, but it doesn't seem like I would need it. Maybe a unit destructor special. Yeah, here we go. Hey, wait, this isn't right. That is kind of a surprise that Warcraft 2 would have had that functionality. It's funny that that might be the only Blizzard game that has that functionality, unless Warcraft 1 also had it. Only Protoss units of robotic units at this point? Yeah. I really don't know why the timer wouldn't be being subtracted. Because I've set it up in here so that if the timer is greater than 0, we can remove the Gorgon behavior since that's no longer actually a thing. We can get rid of this if def. Blizzard slowly degenerates. Pretty much. Okay, so destroyed. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working for non-Nathrokors, which is odd. Yeah, thank you for fixing that. I much appreciate it. I'm just not sure why. Oh, wait. I guess that's fine. Yeah, they are the same speed there. I don't know why it's only working for Nathrokors. Maybe the range is too small? I'm not really sure. So, like, maybe only an Nathrokors can actually get it? I don't know. Guardians became less interesting. Guardians are still pretty fucking strong. I think Alcagelisks will probably have to have like less range, so that they're more of like a frontal destroyer than an artillery unit. But they already have less range than the Guardians, so All right, so it looks like we've got two issues here. And I'm not sure which one is like actually relevant. So if we up the range of this Nathrokor passive, right? Like in theory, since we call unit update speed as well, like you would think that it would work for flingy units, just like it would work for it's only working for Nathrokors, which is really weird. Why? Oh, wait, I know why. It's because I'm a goofball. And in unit speed, I had a unit ID check. That's embarrassing. I can't believe it was that was the whole time. See, the problem is, okay, that fixes that problem, right? But it doesn't really address the fact that the timer is not going down. The timer is not expiring. So I'm not sure why that's the case. I don't know what new HYDRA unit I like the most. I think the Phobos is very powerful. I think like the Gorgoleth is pretty cool, especially now that their behaviors are a little bit like it's more robust. It's not about like clicking on units or whatever. It's a bit more reasonable. I don't know. I like a lot of the units. Penumbra's obviously very cool. I think that, you know, while we're on the topic of updating the Nathrokor, that's pretty cool too. Oops. I don't think that's actually working. Again. Why? Yeah, Nathrokor Dad Throkor. Alright, it's still not working for some reason. I'm like, maybe I didn't actually finish saving the EXE or something. I don't know. It's really weird. Well, I guess we'll test to see if it works on. So it is proccing and applying to those units. But it's not actually working for some reason. Now, you said something about needing a certain kind of like, don't we have to update speed somewhere as well, or something like that? Like, there was some code where we were wondering why flingy units weren't getting affected by like the southpaw behavior, and you said that there was some other extra step that we had to do when Vika and I were implementing it. But the thing is, I have updated speed. I do unit update speed here. Oh, well, that didn't work out. Maybe if I get rid of this. I don't know what %D is, but I guess that's what I need. Okay, it's working in terms of finding the units then. All right, let's try this out. Oh, it is working as intended then. But why isn't it ever expiring for them? Is there like some regression in apply upgrade flags, maybe? Because like they are obviously faster after they kill something, and it's appears to be like a permanent thing. So not sure why there would be a random permanent speed upgrade for them. Oh wait. Vic sent me some modified overlays here. Problem is I've done so many like small changes to shit, so I do like the bigger camera space though, so oops. I don't know. I haven't played Wings of Liberty in a long time. No interest. You missed me wondering why the Nathrokors are having this permanent speed buff. But other than that, I almost feel like maybe it should be permanent, honestly. But that feels pretty bad, so I don't know. Not a whole lot of counterplay. Nathrokars are getting it permanently compared to other units, though. I'm not really sure why. Like, other units are only getting it temporarily. If anything, Nova is worse. I don't know if it's worse than Legacy of the Void, but it feels pretty shit, man. That's for sure. Not something I want to deal with personally. So with the Nathrokor stuff, at least partially implemented, that's one thing down. Yeah, people have given that opportunity or like proposed that kind of thing in the past, where you've got a situation where you're dealing with various different upgrade paths, and one of them precludes another. I just think upgrades are a waste of time. You know, they're kind of a dead end at this point. You have to incorporate some sort of you have to incorporate them in a way that is not fire and forget. That is not, I'll get this, and then there's never more interaction than that. As soon as I have it, I have it. Like, the only way that approach works, where you have something that is at a certain breakpoint and you get it and you're stronger forever now because of it, is if the game times are really small. Because if you've got like a 20-minute average game time or a 30-minute average game time, then those decisions, at least like because of the density of decisions within that period of time, and the time scale is so small, it means that after you get that sort of thing, you have less time to flaunt that advantage. You've got less time for that decision to actually impact the game. And so you almost have to make it count while it's there. And so it can create its own level of gameplay, but it's not really what I would want in a perfect world anyway. Even if my game time was on average 30 minutes, I would still want it to be better than that. But at the very least, like, I can see where the small game time attenuates that. The change here is Obviously, we're going for like hour and a half, 2 hour long game times potentially. We at least want to have the options open for that sort of gameplay in something like HYDRA. And so I don't think upgrades are worthwhile in that environment because you're dealing with a situation where a fire and forget decision impacts the game drastically across like an hour or something. You know what I mean? So I just look at it like you got to consider what kind of impact it's going to have. And in a situation where you've got one upgrade that precludes another, that opens up its own can of worms where you need to make sure that your upgrades are split correctly and that like you really are balancing the scales and one decision is as good as another or better depending on the context of a scenario so that sort of like you know the thing is it's sort of like units or sort of like upgrades are anyway in some cases where I'm going to get this unit because my enemy is fielding this composition. So I'm going to get I'm going to go down this branch of upgrades or whatever because of that. But I also think that precluding upgrades, if you're going to include upgrades at all, having some that like preclude others, it feels excessive and also like heavy-handed in a way that is not very attractive for me. Like I look at that and I think here's a situation where the game is restricting the freedom that I could otherwise have. Now the problem is that every example I can think of where there's one upgrade that precludes another, like in Wings of Liberty with the armory system in the Hyperion or whatever, usually one like both upgrades are overpowered, and so having them be there together would be ridiculous. It's not the armory system; it's like that fucking science thing where you pick one. So if you had a situation where you could choose both or whatever, it's like, oh, that would be busted. So of course it makes sense that you have to choose between one or the other. But in a perfect world, you don't have upgrades that are busted. You have got upgrades that improve the skill expression somehow. And then that decision making of which upgrade to field is part of your personality, part of the expression of your skill. The problem is that when you're restricting the options based on what they say, it just feels like, it doesn't feel good. So yeah, I think upgrading being done by building structures is an interesting approach because it isn't fire and forget in the same way. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think unit veterancy is a dead end. They basically tried to make it so that like they worked it in a subtle way, but it introduced too much variance. Like the problem with veterancy generally is that it's like a gimmick that usually punishes players for it encourages the wrong kind of gameplay for an RTS, namely like conserving one unit and like feeding kills to one unit or whatever. Like that's a MOBA gameplay mechanic. And then in Exego, it was like they minimized the impact, but it was like adding an aura for bonus armor, and maybe that does turn the tide, but it's like invisible, so it doesn't feel very impactful, and it feels like it's impossible for players to consider that stuff. So I would like to explore the idea, yeah, because like the thing is, veterancy is just one of those things that I get the idea. Like I understand why people like the concept of it, because it's like, oh, my unit killed a bunch of other units. He's a veteran, and now he's he should perform better as a result of that or whatever. But that's like unfortunately it's like a symptom of people thinking from the perspective of maybe not realism, but some sort of hyper realism where it's meant to be, it's something that you can follow logically, but it's only in the context of like a conceptual thing and not in the context of what it actually does to the gameplay. So it might be logical as a premise for a thought experiment, but it doesn't work in a game. And all of the, you know, existing examples of it bear that out. So as far as the underground level, I feel like maybe that could be something that we try in at some point in the future. It wouldn't be like for HYDRA or anything, I don't think. But my main problem is anytime you have to deal with multiple minimaps, you know, we're going to have a hard time as it is having players deal with enormous minimaps that are like when we have the 512 by 512 map sizes and so on. Like the minimaps are already going to be enormous in a lot of our maps. The idea that you have to deal with a second map or whatever is ridiculous. Now, it is a kind of a clever way to add more map space without actually having a bigger map in terms of the boundaries, because it's like another level. And they had some interesting mechanics where they had like some spells you could cast that would deal damage to everything above it or below it, and then there would be like units that could go between one, like an air unit that could burrow into the ground and fly down there or something like that, I think it was. So like it could fly above ground, but it could also burrow down and become an air unit below ground or something. Like there's some value there, I guess, but they didn't go as far as they needed to actualize it as a mechanic. And generally speaking, it felt pretty forgettable for me, even though it was obviously one of the defining characteristics of the whole thing. So I don't know. It's not something that I think is super important. And yeah, this ASM block for calling iScript use weapon or whatever is probably something that should go through and be added somewhere else. I'm just not sure about the well, they had like the humans, right? They had the mining teams that could create pathways for other units or whatever, right? So that was a pretty obvious case of a way to interact with the system, because that's basically creating, it's like a corollary would be creating like building ramps or something, you know what I mean? So like that's kind of cool, but I think they should have stuck with the top side of things, because like the UI that they made didn't even use it properly. Like it removed the portrait so that they could have the UI fit the second minimap. You know what I mean? And then you're looking in two different corners of your screen just to see what's going on the minimap. It's just a mess. So my main problem is like finding a way to present that information to the player, even if it feels like a decent addition or something. If you're dealing with multiple minimaps, you're going to have a tough time, I feel like. Now, at the same time, there is a case where, like, I could see a world where in something like, um, I don't really remember. Oh yeah, continuum. Like the the idea about continuum, the this like hot drop, you can join and leave at any time, and like when you join you can like bring with you a fleet, and it's this massive thing where it's just this procedurally generated map. Like in a situation like that, maybe you'll have a situation where you'll actually bring up multiple mini-maps on like your second monitor or something. Like maybe that's something that we add support for. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Like if you really have this empire spanning like or galaxy spanning empire or something, right? What I think you're going to have to do is you're almost going to have to enlist AI allies that will manage that sort of thing. Like, oh, I'm installing this guy as a manager, like a governor or a commander over this sector of the game, and I can directly control override his control if I look at what he's doing. But I'm going to trust that he can do whatever the fuck he's doing, right? Like something like that could be there. You could just join a player and say, "Hey, I'll take control of something, just give it to me or whatever." Like another human player could do it. Like that could be really cool. And that's probably how we would combat the fact that you're dealing with so much fucking space. Well, the thing is, I imagine the game, like, considering the size of the map or whatever, you probably wouldn't be dealing with rendering most of the stuff. So I'm sure we can find a way to make it programmed reasonable. But yeah, I agree. Replicating Brood War pathfinding in a way that allows us to improve it is probably the best approach. But I just think that something like that could be really banging. Anyway, can you help me out here just a quick sec to figure out like what I would need to do for the Madrigal's passive? It's supposed to consider like launching weapons at all nearby targets within the weapon range of the unit, and I'm not sure if I should be uncommenting the create bullet or if I should be using the like piggybacking off of the amatosis value or what. What do you think? Well, they should fly and follow target, so I figured I would just piggyback off of the tendril amatosis for sunken colonies because it's the same idea. It's a homing attack. So it should just target the unit. And I figured I could just use this. So I'm in theory, most of the code is already done because you already made it. I think the Madrigal will be a really neat unit once this is in. There is no algorithm. Weapon 1 fires 1 missile per target for all hostile targets within 6 range of the Madrigal. 6 range being the weapon's range. Oh yeah. I removed all the upgrades. It's the same thing as Tendril Amatosis, except it's not limited to 1 extra target. It's not like the number of targets is unlimited in theory, as long as you can fit them all into 6 weapon range. It's just like, say I've got a Madrigal and there's 3 enemy units in the area. So, like, in theory, I should be able to hit all 3 of these if I'm in range, is what I'm saying. I mean, putting together a proc is pretty simple. I can do that anytime, but... Reasonable fucking code, by the way, if good. Well, that will never return true in this engine. I mean, I already do exactly this, because this is the tendril hematosis. Code. I guess you have some other shit in here. I'm not sure why I would need to do all this, though. Are you ever using old? Oh, I see. I already set it up down here. Well, you set it up with the tender limitosis code over there. And so what, this is like up to 8 or whatever? What do you mean? You have a create bullet right down here. Are you checking for attacks somewhere else, or is this like an unused variable? I'm not sure what torpedo's insert is doing. I guess I'll just try what... why do you have units in Splash? Well, I guess that's probably from wherever you copied this from, and not like a member function or whatever. Wait, so why did you send me this if this wasn't going to be useful? I'm confused. I don't know how to work in your most recent post. I don't know how I'm supposed to work in what you sent me most recently to either the tendril amatosis code or the Corvette torpedo code, so Frankensteining this shit together is not really my specialty. I don't even know what I need to include here in order for it to work properly in the first place. So what has the code that's related to C flags, unit range count, units and splash? Oh right, yeah, you said that this is actually supposed to be like Madrigal Furia match. But obviously units and splash is not related, so is that supposed to be defined in Madrigal Furia match? I don't know why I would be doing splash, unless that's just a misnomer. Splash is the radius for splash damage, in my mind. It has nothing to do with finding units for the sake of launching missiles. Yeah, so it's named improperly for what I'm doing, but I don't know what, like, it's part of unit finder, so I would have assumed that there would have been some other reason for it. So like it's called units in splash, but it has nothing to do with splash damage. It's just that in some cases it was used in conjunction with a weapon that also did splash damage. Because I'm not using it for splash damage at all, and I guess neither are you in the Corvette's case or something. Well, I guess you're not using it in the Corvette's case, but rather, like, I would assume it would be units in range or something like that. So that's why I was confused, because splash means something completely different, obviously. I'm not touching this any more than I need to, so I'm all set, thanks. Just trying to explain why I was confused. So we have count equals 0, I equals 0, I greater than, yeah. So now we have to actually fire the missile. Well, if you're talking about the name of the variable, it's not that difficult. Why? I don't even know what this is doing, so I don't know what you want me to separate it. You're trying to get me to do what now? Man, what a confusing operation. So you actually are telling me to do C unit target equals units in splash get unit I, which is what this is. Okay, I'm with you so far. And then you want me to do something here? Oh, if target. Okay. Oops. So now we create the bullet, we get the angle and all that shit. So now we're looping through here. I'm just wondering, like, is this going to make sure that it only fires one missile per target? So that it's not going to fire an infinite number of missiles per target? I would assume so, but with this shit, you never know. Because it's only calling create bullet once in theory, but I don't know if it could find the same target multiple times. The match must take care of that or whatever. Cool. That's a pretty good one. It's shooting itself. I was not expecting that one. Now that's funny. So I guess the match needs to be more explicit. It should match. It checks for if the unit is this, if it's itself, if it's the order target initially, and if it's the if it's allied to, if it can't attack the target. I'll add a player comparison check there to make sure. But I'm not sure why I would be doing that. The way I assigned what, finder match? Auto finder match equals Madrigal Furia match unit. Should it be target instead of unit? Or what? No, I don't think so, because it needs to be finding stuff in a radius around the unit. What do you mean I don't use match? I do bool match. You're talking about inside here? Is there a point where I'm supposed to? I think I did before, and then you told me to do if target. Don't use it in finder. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you, man. It's bool match right here. Returns false if all of these, and returns true otherwise. Should it be if Madrigal Furia match dot match or something? I don't understand. If you mean I don't use it in this function, I did use it in this function, but you told me to separate these two into separate operations. Yeah, you told me to write if target. Look up in the chat. You wrote if target. I think. Oh no, yeah, you wrote it in Discord. Sorry. C unit target equals finder match dot match units in splash get unit, and then wrote if target. I guess I didn't do this part. But then this gives me an error anyway. Because the bool can't be used to initialize C unit, so... So what, if finder match? I don't... Or if match? No, that wouldn't make any sense either. Oh, man. I don't even remember what the original code was. All right, we'll try that and see if that works. Thanks. Dude, that's psychotic. No, it's still not working. Holy moly. I guess I have to nest this in here or something? That is a pretty good bit, though. The version of it, I'm gonna just show it off one more time. The version where the Madrigal attacks everything around it. Oh. It's not working now. Why isn't it working? This is bogus. I must have already saved it. When it just attacks literally everything. Doesn't appear to be working at all now. Yeah, now it's not happening. Question mark. Which is weird because we've got like this match, Madrigal player ID. Like it, for whatever reason, it's not finding enemies. So if the unit is the exact target, return false, because the regular attack will attack it. If the unit is the Madrigal, return false. If the unit's player ID is the same as the Madrigal's player ID, return false. If the unit's player ID is allied to the Madrigal's player ID, return false. And if the Madrigal cannot attack the target, return false. I guess this doesn't really matter because it can attack air and ground units. But you get the idea. I guess that would be for like if it's stasis or something. What, this? Or are you talking about this? There's two player ID comparisons. I guess I can also remove this. I don't know. Third time's the charm. Yeah, it's not working again. Yeah, apparently the unit is always a Madrigal, dude. It's because when I'm doing auto finder match, I'm passing the target instead of the, like, for whatever reason, Madrigal is matched up this way because it's like built off of the tendril match. I don't know what another version of this looks like. Well, no, it's passing the target, but all of the only thing that the match does with the C unit argument, well, it's C unit here. Target isn't initialized. So, oh, I see what you mean. All right, seems to be working. Are you sure the ally check is not necessary? Or the cell phone check, rather, is not necessary? I guess it's not. The player must be allied to himself. Oof. Oof. Dude, Madrigals are bosses now. Good fucking luck. If only I could actually micro these guys. Why don't they attack? They probably don't have any attack angle, if I had to guess. Well, thanks for helping me set that up. Yeah. Of course. Oh, wait. It's 21. That's by default here. Yeah. Okay. That's the wrong one. Some motherfucker. Brutalized. That's a pretty fun unit to use. I like that. Giant horde of Zerglings? Yeah, that would be broken as fuck. Because you know those Zerglings are not going to be able to do anything. No, it's still going to be really useful. It's like way more single target. It's like 20, rather, it's like 60 damage or something. So it's actually broken in single target contexts, but. No, that was satisfying. It doesn't actually change their weapon, unfortunately, but. I'm actually not sure if it is even working properly. Because it should have way more range. And probably more actual damage, yeah. And a higher cooldown. So for some reason, the weapon is not switching correctly. But you would definitely want it because it's like it's 10 range, which is really, really good. Like you would always want to use that in certain situations. It's a very flexible unit. The unit might be really, really like overly powerful right now, but it's also pretty weak. And in order to get most of its power out of it, you need to position it well, which is nice. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Oh yeah, for sure. Once it has marksmanship as well, it'll be really good, but I don't know if that'll be possible in this engine. The one where it can, as soon as it locks on, it can start walking around while it attacks. We might also need to like increase its movement speed slightly. But that's just me thinking out loud. What was I about to test? Something. You check this out, ready? I like that. That's pretty epic. I was trying to get it to move over, whatever. Well, we need to just increase the limits of bullets, obviously. Can't have 90 bullets or whatever, 100 bullets limit. It's pretty stupid. I think I know why the Nathrokor's passive has that bug with... I assume it's actually with all flingy units. And it's something I should be able to fix here. Maybe that will help. It could also be a shadow if you're constantly move. Like the thing is, IMGL commands are not safe in that sense. Like they'll just assume that you meant to create them on an infinite loop or whatever. So it could be anything that's IMGUL'd or IMGAL'd or sprawled or sprawled, like anything that any sort of image that gets created that way through iScript. If you're constantly accessing that loop, it could happen. Yeah, I think well, we could do that. We could also define sets of frames as implicit animations, and then we could have explicit animations through iScript if we wanted. But the idea that I would have is as something to potentially explore. I don't know if it would really be all that great. But the idea that I would have in that context is something to the effect of taking everything in. So considering everything, like if I set frame sets 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like those five, so I guess 6 frame sets, and that's if I set them as the walking animation, then by default the unit should look to use its walking animation when walking, right? Like something like that. So we could basically define, like, tick a flag on that as a walking animation. And then if we want to set up an idle animation like it with the Marines, we would have to manually code that in, but walking would be taken care of. And then like ground attack init would be something, and that, like, you could just take a flag and like use these frames, and then it would use them in whatever the alphanumeric order was. So it would be it would use 0 and then 1 and then 2, or if it's a little bit further down, it would use like AA, BB, CC. Like it would use them in whatever the order was in that sense. And if you wanted something different, you would have to like explicitly code it. So that might just be a nice little convenience tool so that you don't have to interact with it if it's a generic unit that has like a walk cycle, an idle cycle, ground attack cycle, something like that. So. I can't think of anything off the top of my head anyway. Okay, it looks like my fix worked. Happy about that. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you're concerned with anything specific, I'm interested in what you have to say about that. But right now, I have to use the bathroom. Any units in HYDRA with unusual speed acceleration ratios? No, I don't think so. I've tried to keep things relatively simple there, but I might consider doing something like that for another unit. We'll see. BRB. I have returned. Okay, what else do we need to... I can jump into the Nathrokor section. And... mark this as implemented. Behavior as implemented. Yeah, I think turn radius is a big deal too. Like, it makes battle cruisers a lot bulkier. They feel a lot bulkier, generally speaking, so... So I think there's all... there's certainly a component of that. What? No. Oh. Oh, man. That is like, you know, somebody was not using, like, was not used to the default code. Holy shit, that's embarrassing. Wow. Dude, I'm really shocked by that. That is shockingly bad. All right, so range is respected more now, but we are in a position where the well, I'm just not sure if the attack speed is also there. No, I refuse. So how do I change the icon, the weapon icon itself? Is there like an example of this already being here? No, I'm not talking about the range. Well, the damage should also be changed, but the name should be changed, the icon should be changed. Like it should just get all of the info from the other weapon. So I could actually set the range by default. I could do range equals weapons stat max range weapon ID Imperioso missiles. I think the damage type is the same. But the bonus damage might be different. But where's the actual damage itself? Oh, get damage factor for a tooltip. Okay, that's fine. So I'm basically overwriting the stuff that's in here. Yeah, I didn't read base damage until just now. Doesn't look like it's actually working. Yes, but these constant variables are supposed to be used down here. So should I stop these from being const and just overwrite them rather than declaring? I thought by declaring them again, I would be overwriting them. Well, it still does nothing even after I do that, so... No idea. Well, it is a weapon ID switch, but why does it matter? Why is case unit ID Zerg Basilisk able to work? What? So rather than operating in here, is what you're saying? I like that range is 320. That's my own fault there. So the only issue now is that the string is wrong and the icon is different. Yeah, 320 pixels is 10 range because each unit of range is 32. So I just have to divide it by 32, and I forgot to do that. I wonder if it's even possible to change the icon. You would think it would be a possibility, but maybe there is like an icon specific thing. It looks like there should be something in here. Because this is where we implement like Terran Centaur and Terran Phobos missiles. Although this might set it for the air weapon or something, I'm not really sure. But that's the code that I'll need. I just need to figure out if that's the right place to put it, basically. Yeah, that's funny. It creates another entry entirely. All right, so that's sort of what I would expect, I guess. Yeah, Furia's missiles are... Furia missiles are the tempo up, and then tempo down is Imperiosa missiles. Let's give that a shot. And then it moves the Furia missiles somewhere else. That's pretty funny. Iquare, calm the fuck down, dude. What is... Are you okay? You're coming across like... You made everything super clear when... It's definitely not the case. Make it use Imperiosa if Furia is used, but Madrigal is switched to from it. And I don't need to do an else, because otherwise it'll use the default thing, or do I actually need to add... You say I should also be expressly checking if the weapon ID is... I don't know how much of your earlier comments are... Wait, what? Why is this... Wait, what? Modifiable L value? Wait, why wouldn't it be? It's used in a similar fashion over here, although it's like writing it, obviously, but... Do I have to like dereference it or something? Oh yeah, you're talking about down here. I don't know why it would throw an error over there. Okay, cool. I wonder if that actually changes. Does this outmode the code that we just wrote in here? I'll build it and try with it, comment it out, because it might actually not even be necessary at this point. Yeah, it works fine without it. That's fine. All right, we'll close that for now, and that as well. And I guess we'll go ahead and add the latest stuff here. Yeah, I should have checked the stats display first, but I've pretty much never looked at that code. I looked at it once to copy something that you had sent me for the Phobos and the Centaur, but I never looked at it for very long, so I was really lost there. I wouldn't have even thought about it. Whereas I've looked at the other, the weapon armor tooltip a lot more often. What's next? So we did fix, Madrigal, weapon, range, and stats while tempo change is active. We can do the same thing here. More or less. So something for the Gorgon's passive, Petrification. I was thinking that maybe it should refresh the timer of whatever slow or stun there is. Especially if it's for a stun, though, it seems really busted, so... Not really sure. Maybe maybe instead of splashing, the weapon could bounce or something? It could bounce to targets that are affected by a slow or stun. But I don't know. It's hard to come up with some example of that would work. So we have, what do we have? We have I still can't believe you said that the apostle was something basic that I should start coding. I don't know about that one. I guess I would have to create some sort of like some function or some bit of code that would call the death animation for the unit and then 2 seconds later revive them. But I don't know. So the Cyclops passive needs to be implemented. I'm not really sure where to begin with that one. It should probably have a weapon ID, so it's dealing 15 normal damage, and then I can set the radius there. But I'm not sure. Well, the thing is, I don't think that working with globals would be particularly useful in the long term, and if we're only working on it for like a month or whatever, I don't see why. Oh, I should mark the Wendigo as implemented, because I put its passive together the other day. The D-matrix cleansing needs to be added. Quarry still needs to be fixed. Well, no, what I'm saying is like I would have to learn like the ins and outs of the actual globals structure that you're talking about, like the GBTP globals. I have to learn how that works, then code it in. But it's not going to be like, unless we're using a globals system in the new engine, which I think, as far as I understand, the only reason why we're using any globals across any plugin is because of closed source shit. We wouldn't even need to worry about that in another context. So it's like not useful information for me to learn, right? Yeah, but wouldn't that just be like a structure or something? Like you don't need to set it up as a globals system for the new engine, presumably. All right, I'm not gonna bother looking at that right now. Let's see. Oh wow, I didn't know that they weren't in save games. So presumably this is what I'll need. X, Y for the coordinates, player, unit ID. I'm not even sure if I'll need player, but unit ID, and I don't even know if I need unit ID actually for this. In a perfect world, the unit would never actually die, so that if it had like kills or some sort of buff on it, like irradiate, that would continue on while it respawned. But maybe it's probably fine, I guess, if you just create another unit of the same ID. Well, other people are free to implement whatever save system they want to implement. And in fact, for the purpose of debugging, we may want to allow for free saves. But for the campaigns in whatever my RTS ends up being, yeah, there's not going to be support for free saves. There will be a save state that gets stored when you quit a game, and that's tied to your profile. Um, So, I mean, it's not going to be tied to your profile in such that nobody else's save will work. You can say, like, I get to a point where I've built up a bunch of shit. Or, like one way that cheating will be possible, presumably, is if I. If somebody like uses a developer console or something to somehow spawn in a bunch of units, for them, or inject minerals or whatever into them, and then the save state, like they exit to have that be a save state, and then they distribute that save to other people. Like, I'm not sure how they would get to the point where they could do that, but saying that could be a possibility. Like that's something that I'm not really sure it's necessary to like make sure that we cover all cases or possible like things that could happen. Whereas just the system that I've discussed should be fine. Like I just feel like anything that stops you from save scumming is perfectly reasonable. But the system of saving your game when you exit is there for the express purpose of people who like get interrupted in the middle of gameplay and they want to freeze their game state, right? And it's not like we're going to have really long load times or anything like that. So it's not really as much of an inconvenience as you might think. And there will be like a pause feature. Obviously, you open up the main menu, you pause the game when you do that. So I think that'll be fine. So people can either pause or quit depending on how severe the interruption might be. And then they can come back to it. I think when they come back to it, it will be paused as well. Just for like when they reload, it'll load in paused in the main menu, and there will be like a resume button, obviously. And that's probably how we'll handle stuff like that, just so that like when you load in, if you're in the middle of a situation where like maybe you had to leave and an AI attack was just about to come at you and you didn't know that at the time, it's like rather than literally throw you into with the walls or something like that, it should be like there's going to be a little bit of an accessibility feature, if you can call it that, for like people who don't have the luxury of being able to play for like 6 hours at a time and they get caught in the middle of one of the maps or something, you know. But aside from that, there's not really much in the way of like save states or, you know, nor is there really much of a necessity. Yeah, Fagudo was concerned that there would be something of note there. I guess, yeah, if there was like an unexpected. Well, the thing is, if there's like a power outage or something, I don't really know what you would have. Like, would there be an autosave every minute or something? Like, I guess that could work. There's a squeaky toy outside. Well, it didn't end up extending much of anything. SMH. Oh. I'm not really sure what map to use. The background of this, but for now we'll stick with that. It's very scenic, very epic. Oh shit. Well, that was a very loud email. Thanks, whoever sent that. Guess that means I need to immediately look at it. Can't believe I have to upload this fucking file. Discord's having a fucking fit, I think. Looks like iQuere's gone for the day. I was gonna ask him how to implement the Cyclops passive, because I have got no idea. But I guess I can at least set up the dude, some of the chat messages, man. Holy moly. Oh shit. Finally. The Discord file limit has been destroyed. So we think, anyway. Okay. I don't know about that one. I feel like maybe the transparency was alright, actually. Let me compare the two. Oops. Well, I guess was it even a transparency thing? I don't even know. There's some background effect that got changed as well. I think it was like the opacity of the curves is 50 instead of 75. I kind of like the richer dark, but I guess it's probably too overbearing if the... Wait. Hold on. Where is the... Is that just my monitor not showing an actual dark? I'm confused. No, it's 1D. So it's... What's going on here? Also, the mask is off. I have to fix that. Can't have that. Oh, I guess it's the color overlay. On the group. Okay. Well, in the 3.5 hours we've been together, we have implemented the Madrigal passive, the Nathrokor passive, fixed up some Madrigal shit. And I feel like we did some other stuff, like we tested the Cascathalor stuff and the Alcagilisk stuff. So yeah, we had a good run, good stream. Also updated my overlays with the help of Veek, because that's what he was doing this entire time. So I pivoted to that a little bit. So yeah, cool stuff. iQuare helped me out a lot today. Thanks, iQuare. And I will catch you guys later on for some video content, tomorrow for another mod stream. You know the drill. See you later.